you guys have worked with many A-list artists, rock bands, big ones, and I'm sure there's a lot of people that come to your studio wanting to sound like them. And then suddenly you hear the mix, you hear their work, and you immediately know that there's a big gap. How do you manage those expectations, and how can you help those people get there,
Well,
where they want to go?
by the action, you know. A lot of times people will say that they want to sound like a particular band, and they're not actually talking about the sonics. Sometimes they don't even have the the innate sense to know that this recording shouldn't sound like that other recording, or if you try to make it sound like that other recording, it's going to actually do the current recording a disservice. So you have to really read into what they're saying by that, and a lot of times it's the feel and the energy. Like they might love, I don't know, Queen, you know, and their recording sounds nothing like Queen. It's just, but they've been inspired by Queen in a different way, in some way. So we take that into account, and we make the best. We put our best foot forward in trying to realize that recording, which is really the recording that we're working on, be the best it can be, while taking into account that they want to sound like a certain band out there. And mind you, sometimes they just say, I'm really interested in this sounding like Queen, but Queen's got a bunch of different records, you know? So which Queen are they referring to, right? So we just take all that into account, we make the best decisions we can, and it always has to do with making that recording the best it can be. You've got to be careful not to sometimes just take your client and just let the client drive the train, because that can be doing them a disservice. They're trusting you for your expertise. So if you make any recording sound like a different recording, you have to take into account how that original recording was recorded. Maybe that Queen song wasn't referencing anything. They were just acting by their best intuition, right? And they amounted to this great thing. And now you have a different recording that was done out of, from a different place entirely, recorded in a different place, recorded by different people, with different instruments, and ending up in a different place entirely. So to try to take this and put it over here or wherever and trace that, it can be valuable, but it also can be leading something down the wrong path.
Yeah. Sometimes actually people want one thing, and the way they communicate with us, they actually want something different than what it is they're articulating to us. So I remember having a conversation with our industry great, Bernie Grumman. It was either I saw him on a panel, or it was an in-person conversation where, he did the Michael Jackson Thriller album, and he said he was working on a jazz record, and somebody says, I want it to sound more like Thriller. And he's sitting there going, okay, well, I don't even know what that means. How about some of this? And he dials something in, and they go, yeah, that's it. So, they have something in their mind, and our job is to decipher what that is in their mind. And when you're dealing with something so esoteric as music, that can be interpreted so many different ways by so many different people, all in the same room, it is an effort to really try to understand what people are saying. So it could be that if they want a jazz record to sound like Thriller, that really what's happening is they want something in the mid-range to impact and jump out. So if you know that record and you kind of have a sense of the sonics of it, if you can go for that and emphasize that in our environment, you're home. So deciphering that is what it is. And no two songs ever sound alike, even on the same album. Some of the best albums are so diverse track to track. The continuity is in the diversity. You know what I mean? So there's that. That's a big part of the communication is key.
You have to inhabit the perspective of who you're working with and take that into account, even if they don't have all the times the best ways of articulating or conveying what they actually mean. Or if they do, what they're actually conveying isn't actually what they want. Like we run into this type of thing all the time where somebody will say, hey, I love what you did on the whole album except for track 8. Can you try maybe 2 or 3 dB at some top end around 10K or so? Now, if we would have put 2 or 3 dB at 10K on that, it wouldn't sound right. What they're really asking for is maybe a few tenths. In their mind, it's 2 or 3 dB. In our world, it's 2 or 3 tenths. 2 or 3 tenths is actually going to get them exactly what they want. If you put on paper, if you actually did what they put on paper, they're not going to want that. So we have to really figure out what they want, put ourselves in their shoes, then get to a place of where we agree with them. What we did originally is fine too, but get on their team. and then operate from that place. And that is the quickest way to cut through all of the mud and get right to exactly where you want to be, to get them happy and to get make the best thing you can do for the project.